What's going on, JP?
I am relaxing. What's going on with you, Miss Ashby?
You're on early spring break.
Yeah, a short one too. It's going to be over first thing in the morning.
I was gonna say, how long are you there?
I'm headed to Charlotte in the morning.
There
Um,
you go.
Everybody else is here for the rest of the week.
Well, they get a spring break. Hey, you kind of get a March Madness little break, little change of scenery. That'll be fun.
Yeah, we're going to hit some basketball tomorrow. Maybe Clemson can stay more than one day this year.
I see it. I think I'd be shocked if they did not. But
Yeah, I
welcome
was
back.
I was going to be shocked if they didn't stay but one day last year, and we all know how that turned out. But let's don't even go there.
Well, we got Jaden Zachary on our side this year, so feeling better about life.
Yeah. One last basketball thing. He got snubbed. He should have been the ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
Absolutely. I think Coach Brownell should have been Coach of the Year, but that's just me.
Wouldn't have had any argument with that either.
But I could make a case for probably one or two other guys to get ACC honors. So I'm maybe not the best person to ask here. But back to baseball. Welcome back to Rounding the Bases. Sorry to everybody that we got started a little bit later today. We were covering Coach Sweeney over at Death Valley. So pretty fun way to end the week. But yeah, we're excited to be here. I'm Ashley Mixon here with Jason JP Priester. Um, and happy to be here. So let's get it started by thanking our sponsor, Mission Roofing. Mission Roofing is the go-to company for all residential roofing needs in the upstate of South Carolina. Whether it's a small repair, full roof replacement, or insurance restoration, Mission Roofing will provide a solution. Go check out their Facebook page and call or text 864-419-8173 for all your roofing inquiries. Well, JP, I feel like I'm having deja vu because I get to start off this podcast for the third week in a row saying 5 straight wins since we've talked.
They just keep chugging right along. I thought they'd sweep Davidson, but I thought they might run into a little bit of trouble this week. Liberty's kind of been known as the ACC midweek killer. They've already beaten Duke. One other ACC team, too, in the midweek might have been NC State. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they've already got 2 ACC wins in the midweek, and Clemson makes rather easy work of those guys. And I was kind of impressed with that Liberty team, especially the arms they were rolling out the past 2 days. I mean, they had just rolled out guy after guy after guy who's throwing low to mid-90s, and again, Clemson kind of made easy work of them. And today they used a lot of pitchers, a lot of young pitchers, inexperienced pitchers, some freshmen. We saw Noah Samal for the first time, only pitched the inning, but he got to start. That is a pretty good ball club Clemson just swept in these 2 midweek games.
Absolutely. I think also the fact that you're having pretty decisive wins is awesome. You're not having to come back from behind and anything like that. That was great to see. But yeah, 15 straight. I was happy to say that our Davidson predictions were correct, predicted the sweep. I was a little bit nervous there on Sunday for a second, but they just find a way. And like they've said several times, they don't have any doubt that they're ever going to win a game. And I think that mentality shines through 100%. What do you think about that? Do you think that actually plays a role in coming back, or do you think that's just a mindset?
I think it's part mindset. I think this team has shown already, even though they've won, however many games it is in a row now, I've lost count, but they haven't lost since the 3rd game of the season there in Texas against Ole Miss. But they've kind of shown a propensity to be able to, even if they get down, they can come back. They never panic. They're never, they never feel like they're out of it, no matter the deficit. Although they haven't really, outside of that Ole Miss game, haven't faced a real big deficit. But that's the kind of mindset you want to see in a team. And you couldn't have asked for a better non-conference than what you've gotten. What are they, 17-1 now? I mean, 17-1 heading into conference play. I don't think as good as we thought this team could be, I don't think anyone probably would have predicted that. I don't think I would have predicted 17-1. Um, but here we are, and those guys, they are still, they've won all these games in a row. They've won 17 of 18 to start the season, and I don't think they've played their best baseball yet. I mean, that's the most impressive thing. They've done it in a lot of these games without getting a lot of offense. They've leaned heavily on that pitching staff, which is, for the most part, been really good. The bullpen has been outstanding. We saw it again today. Golly, I lost count how many pitchers they used. I don't think anybody threw more than 2 innings. Dvorsky came up big today, kind of an unsung hero. Chase Kick was really good, pitching the second and the third. TP Wentworth would look really good pitching the ninth. I mean, there are just a lot of options that they could turn to out there in that pen if they needed to. And still, we haven't seen everybody yet. We did get to see some more today, but there's still a couple guys we haven't seen. So that's kind of scary. It's scary.
It is scary. Is that the first time that we've seen TP Wentworth pitch?
I want to say he's pitched. If you give me a second, I'll tell you. I know he's hit.
I know he's hit.
Let's see here. I got all that pulled up right here. No, he's pitched before.
Okay.
He pitched against Presbyterian 2/3 of an inning, struck out a guy, had a wild pitch, but he's now pitched an inning and 2/3. He did allow a solo home run today. I mean, let me throw that out there before anybody, jumps on me there. But I thought he still pitched really well. It was a pitch that he left up over the inside part of the plate, and the guy just hit it out of the park. And I thought one of the announcers hit it on the button. You'd much rather see him. When you're up 8-1, you want to see him filling up the strike zone and throwing strikes rather than walking 2 or 3 guys and getting out of the inning. And that's exactly what he did. He was filling up the strike zone, didn't walk a guy. So it was a quick inning, and that's what you want to see out of those young guys.
For sure. We've talked a lot about them not playing their best baseball yet, and with that, we've talked about a lot of guys that are in the lineup and going to be on the field because they're so good on defense. Guys like, Andrew Chufo, who I think is one of the best shortstops in the country, and Josh Pano. But now what we're seeing too is them really start to get it going on the offensive side. How important is that for the momentum going into conference play?
I think it's really big for a guy like Pano. He's got his average back up to 324. He's hit 4 home runs now. He hit another one today, a 3-run bomb. He's got 21 RBIs. That's tied for the team lead. That's a guy that they need to be able to depend on in the middle of that lineup. They need to get some pop from him. They need for him to be driving in runs when guys are on base, and he's starting to do that. He started off on fire, then he went through a little bit of a struggle, and now he's picking it back up. He's a guy that I think they need to lean on in the middle of that order. I see Chufo a little bit differently. I don't think he's a guy that's got to hit 300 for you to be an Omaha-type team. If you can get 270, 280, 290 out of him, man, that's great because his defense is going to save runs. And he's got his average up over 100 points in the past couple of weeks. He's up to 265. He's hit a couple of home runs. Now he's got 12 RBIs. He's starting to get it going. And those two guys defensively, you throw in Jaron Purify. I think I asked Chufo and Purify, maybe Pano too last weekend, if they thought they had the best infield in the country. And, they don't really like to talk about that stuff, but you can definitely make the argument that it's one of the best infields in the country, may be the best infield in the country. Chufo was showing off the leather again today. So was Purify. He did slip on a throw after a diving stab, but it was a heck of a play just to come up with that ball. And Dvorsky comes in and gets him out of the jam. But that the fact that Pano's getting going and Chufo's getting going, that's what this team needs as they head into conference play. Because this, maybe not Notre Dame so much which is who they open with this weekend, but they're going to play some really good teams in the ACC, and I don't know that going through back-to-back games, getting 5 hits one day and 6 hits the next day. I don't know how many games you'll win that way. So you need these guys hitting the ball.
Right, and it puts so much pressure on your pitching, which so far hasn't been an issue necessarily. But I think when you already have them so solid to add that next level, I agree with you. I don't think you necessarily need it to go to Omaha, but I think it certainly helps to know that that's somebody that's going to be able to be reliable at getting on base. And for me, like watching Josh Pano, it really felt like he came back alive so quickly. And they say hitting's contagious, but it feels like it's kind of been everybody in the last few days. It's been Pano and Chufo and, Cam got his first home run. That was great to see. I was excited for that. Guys like Lou Gaffney, who hit a home run today, I think, and also had maybe the closest call of a home run in DKS history the other day. But definitely great to see that. So I think it's awesome that they're all kind of getting going at the same time, to join the guys that have been on fire from the start.
Yeah, now you kind of need to get Priest to get it back going. He's kind of struggling a little bit. Cam's not quite at that level we are used to seeing him at. But I think it's important to remember we're talking about a guy that didn't hit the ball in the fall, didn't do much in the preseason, so he's still kind of trying to round into form. But going back to Chufo, we're talking about a guy that usually hits in the 9-hole. You get a guy you get your guy in the 9-hole and he's starting to hit the ball, man. That's a pretty good sign about your offense.
Completely. I also thought Jack Crichton has been really, really good in the past few days, and I didn't get to watch the game today because I was working. But did he start today?
He did. He hit in the 2 double plays. He ended up coming out, in the later innings, but not counting today, guys are going to have days like that. Man, he's hitting 364. 364. He's got 2 doubles. He's 12 for 33 on the season. He's got a 420 something slugging percentage. I mean, when you're putting up those kind of numbers, it's kind of hard for the coach not to write your name in the lineup most days. He is making it very hard on Eric Backus to keep him on the bench. And when he's hitting like that, somebody else has got to come out, maybe a Becerra or a Priest, whichever day it is and whoever's pitching. I know both those guys are lefties, but he is on fire right now, not counting today. I get it. He didn't have a hit today and hitting the 2 double plays, but one of those double plays, man, he hit it on the button. He just hit it at somebody. And that's going to happen from time to time. But, man, he is one of those guys that's got it going on right now. And as long as he's hitting like that, you want to keep running him out there. Maybe not every day, but most days.
It feels like we talk about a new person every single week where we're like, man, I do not envy Coach Bakich having to not let them play today or, write that lineup sheet. But I feel like every week it's been somebody new has really stepped up. But there have been a few throughout the entire season that have just been on fire. And especially in the last few weeks, you got to talk about Jaron Purify because ACC Player of the Week, huge deal. And he's become somebody that I think has stepped outside of being kind of a role player, which is in my head going into the season kind of what I saw him as, somebody that was going to get on base and be solid. But he's kind of taken it to the next level of feeling like a superstar, What do you think? What do you attribute that to? And how do you think he keeps that momentum going?
600 last week. He hit 600 last week.
It's absurd.
He absolutely deserved the ACC Player of the Week. But he's a guy, you know it when you see it, and he's one of those dudes. And you just kept feeling like, hey, he's going to explode at some point. And now we're starting to see it. Starting to see a little pop in the bat. He's putting it all together. I think it just, he was one of those guys that it was going to take a little bit of time for him to put everything together and start really flashing his potential. We saw signs of it last year. especially with the glove. Not he'd go through stretches at the plate where he struggled a little bit, but he did his part. This year, he's on a whole different level offensively. I just think he's seeing the ball better. I think he's more comfortable. I think he's able to get a better read on pitchers now, and he's had a year at the collegiate level. I think it's a lot of things that have really started to fall into place for him, and he is kind of turning into the MVP of his team right now. I don't want to say he's carrying them by any stretch, but man, he is really setting the table for all the guys behind him and just getting on base. That's what he does. He just gets on base. He's got a on base percentage of 535. His slugging percentage is 788. He's 9 of 11 in stolen base attempts. He's walked 11 times. He's been hit by 3 more pitches, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 3 home runs, and he's just doing a little bit of everything. And again, he's setting the table for everybody behind him.
If I'm a pitcher, I'm not looking forward to Jaron Purify's at bat. And I think there's several guys on the team like that they just know how to get on base. And I think when you have Don Listy, who clearly has proven that he is great at finding a way to somehow, if it's getting walked, getting hit, whatever it is, he's going to get on base. When you have that right next to Jaron Purify, who has proven that he also is going to be the same, then you have a situation where you're in great shape and you have your best player coming up. That's dangerous. And that is such a good way to start a game. And I think if Cam can really get going, then that's a pretty automatic 1, 2, and 3. I love Purify in the 2 hole there.
So do I. I love Listy in the 1 hole. I know he's kind of cooled off after the hot start, but that guy has already walked 24 times, 15 walks. He's been hit by a pitch 9 times already. 9 times in 18 games.
I know he got bruises. Been beaten up.
He's getting hit by a pitch once every other game on average. He's just, you talked about guys knowing how to get on base. He's one of those dudes. Even if he's, not hitting at the level that we saw him hitting at over the first couple of weeks of the season, he's still finding ways to get on base and to kind of help Purify set the table for the guys behind him like Pano and Canarella and Bassetti, Gaffney, Priest, whoever's playing or whoever slotted in the middle of the lineup that day. It just makes this lineup that much more dangerous.
I think that's a really good way to describe the team right now is dangerous because, now that you've got hitting going, you feel confident in the bullpen guys. This is a team that's, I think, going to be a really, really, really hard to beat because they can beat you in so many ways. And yeah, I agree with that. This team is so deep, and you have guys like a Jay Dillard in last night that are getting on base, and there's so many people that can succeed, and that's been really fun to watch.
I didn't get to watch yesterday. Did Dillard play second or third?
I want to say that he
came in at second today.
I think he played second yesterday.
So he's not played third.
If I'm not mistaken.
He's not played third since the bad throws.
Last time.
That's what I was wondering. So I didn't get to watch yesterday, but yeah, it's good to see some of those younger guys. I heard Jay Dillard had a really good fall, really good preseason. Sometimes you make a couple throws like that in one game, and it can mess you up mentally. Maybe that's the reason why we haven't seen him back at third, and he's at second every time we see him now. But we got to see some examples of that depth today. With some of the guys that pitch. I know Jackson Cole had another. The guy got on base and due to an error, and then he walked the next guy. So he only faced 2 hitters, but there's a reason why he's getting some opportunities. You saw the potential with Wentworth. Dvorsky had another solid outing. Chance Fitzgerald, we saw some more of him today. He did give up a run or 2. I think it was one run on 3 hits maybe. But it's a good sign that when you have 2 midweek games like this, like they had this week and they had last week. You don't have to chew up your bullpen ahead of the Friday game. You can rest all of your, you know, better guys. Let's just say it that way. The guys you lean on more heavily, and you're confident in turning to those young guys and those inexperienced guys because you've seen enough of them in the scrimmages and in practice to have faith in them to go out there and get the job done. And that's what most of them are doing.
Yeah, I think everybody really that's had an opportunity in the last few weeks has taken it. And I think that's only gonna set you up for success as a team is when, your best guys are playing great, and then also your guys you're playing in the midweeks are also having really successful outings. That bodes really well. Somebody that I've been so impressed with all season and continued to be this past weekend was Malstead. He has been, in my opinion, one of the MVPs of the season so far.
100%. I mean, he's allowed one earned run so far. That's it, one. He's allowed two, but only one of them was earned. That's 12 and 2/3 inning. He's got a 0.71 ERA. They tweaked his arm slot some in the offseason, and we've heard from multiple guys talk about, Jimmy Bellinger either tweaking their arm slot or their arm angle or helping them add a pitch, whatever it might be to have, the impact he's had on his pitching staff. And Malstead's one of the biggest examples. I think I can speak for most everybody and say that when he would come in sometimes last year, you start holding your breath or get up on the, edge of your seat because you don't know which Malstead you're going to get. And people, I know me and some of the people I know, they're not feeling like that anymore. Maybe they did the first time they saw him, the second time they saw him, but the last 3 or 4 times, everybody I know feels 100% confident he's going to come out and get the job done. And the most impressive thing, he can get you a 3-inning save, no problem. He's already done that one time in the South Carolina series, and he comes back and pitches an inning on Sunday. To me, that's the most impressive thing. He has improved so much since, from what we saw last year. I would have never predicted that he was going to be the top closer on this team. I even in the preseason, listening to Eric Backett say it over and over every time he talks about his high leverage relievers, which is kind of his term for closer. He always mentioned Malstead. It seemed like he always mentioned Malstead first too, but he always mentioned Malstead and Garris, and he would mention Titsworth sometimes, but always seemed like Malstead got mentioned first, and I'm thinking, it's going to be Garris. It's going to be, but it's been Malstead. They're not going Garris because he's been just as good, but man, it's been Malstead that they've leaned on more heavily than anybody, and he has so far delivered. I mean, he's not going to be perfect. He's going to get hit. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to beat him at some point, maybe even in the near future, because like I said earlier, it's baseball. That's what happens.
That's
But
life.
if he can keep, performing with the same level of consistency that he's been performing at already, man, I don't even know how to put it into words because he's just so much better than he was last season. And you can see it now when he comes out of the pen. He's just oozing that confidence. He knows. I mean, it's like he's got that look on his face, like I'm fixing to come mow you down, and I'm not going to have to throw 95 to do it. Here it is. See if you can hit it. And when they do hit it, it's just like a weak ground ball, shallow fly ball. He's been fun to watch.
He's been really fun to watch. He's probably my most improved player on the team, if I had to think about it, just because I think it's just the consistency is so different. And to be honest with you, across the whole bullpen, that's what I feel. Like there were games last year whenever the starter would go out, I'd be like, oh no. And that wasn't even, a knock. It was just I didn't know what we were gonna get. And now it's consistent. These are our guys that we're gonna go with. We feel good about them. And they've earned that. They've earned that respect. And yeah, they've been amazing. How did you feel about the starters this last week? Starting pitchers.
I thought Knox took a step in the right direction. He still he's still a little iffy and he's not where he needs to be. And, Bakich even admitted that Friday night after the game, but he only walked one guy. His walk numbers had been up the previous 2 weeks, but he only walked one guy. Still threw a lot of pitches for 5 innings, kind of uncharacteristic for him, when you go back to what we saw last season. Not so uncharacteristic for this season so far, but I still feel pretty confident he's going to find it and get there. Darden just keeps doing what Darden does. LeGuernick had another rough outing Sunday. To me, that's the one question, headed into conference play is LeGuernick and how he's going to hold up on Sundays, because I fully believe that Sunday is the Sunday starter plays one of the most pivotal roles on the team. How many times did we see Connacht come out last season and win a series when it was tied 1-1, entering that third and final game, and Connacht comes out and shuts them down and gets the series win? I can see, whoever's going to be that Sunday starter this year, they're going to find themselves in that situation, fairly often. And, we need more of the Connacht we saw against A&T. More of the LeGuernick we saw against A&T, more of the LeGuernick we saw against South Carolina. Against Davidson, 3 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs. He walks 2 guys. He hits 3 more. That's just not going to get it done. You can't have your Sunday starter out there hitting 3 guys, walking 2 more. You're just going to find yourself in an early hole. And he has proven so far that that's not when he performs at his best. He's got to find a way to start throwing strikes and be more consistent. And if he gets it going, then, hey, I feel really good about this team's chances to make a deep run. Even without him, I still feel pretty good about him. But if he can't find a little bit more consistency, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else doesn't get a shot there in another couple of weeks. If he doesn't find a way to be a little more consistent. Again, he's had 4 starts, 2 good ones, 2 bad ones. And these are the first 4 starts of his career, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah.
So,
It's
he's
a
still a
small
young
sample size still.
Yeah, he's still a young guy. He's still, trending upwards, but that's a pivotal role, is that Sunday starter spot. And they're going to need him. They're going to need him to not walk a lot of guys, not hit a lot of guys. They need him to not do what he did Sunday. If you get hit, you get hit. But
You got to move on.
Yeah, you can't be issuing the free 90s at the rate he was issuing them on Sunday.
Do you think they would mess around with the order? Like, do you think they would move an Aiden Canuck back to Sunday, or do you think he is set in stone? He's going Friday, and they would leave it as it is?
Yeah, I don't know. I've wondered about that. I don't know if they would tinker with that or not. I would say, it would depend on what happens. If it got to that point where they needed to do it, they would make that move. But I feel like, Eric Bakich kind of wants Aiden Canuck in that Friday role, and wants him to kind of master that Friday role, for lack of a better term. But, if let's say he struggles to pitch 4 and 5 innings for the next month, maybe they do say, hey, let's see if we can put Darden there and move Aiden back a day or 2, and maybe they make a small tweak here. But I think that'll depend on what happens the next 3-4 weeks. I don't think we're there yet. I'm not even sure we're close to being there yet.
Yeah, I think you have time. I think it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But all I know is that Ethan Darn has been so solid, and kind of like the mall said, like that he's going to get outs. He might not have the billion strikeouts that Aiden Canuck will give you, but he's proven that he can get out of innings, get out of jams, and I don't know. That's been really fun to watch. So I don't know. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling a little bit spoiled that we haven't had to talk about a loss in however long, but definitely not complaining. It's been awesome. Um, Looking ahead into conference play, what do you think are going to be the biggest keys to kind of that transition going from, playing who we've played to moving into really solid tenured teams?
I think they just need to keep doing what they've been doing. Getting what they've got out of their starting pitchers. Um, that bullpen being lights out, and the offense, doing its thing. They've not been. I think they're starting to find their groove. They went through a little spell there where they had a few games where they were only getting 5, 6, 7 hits, but they're kind of coming out of that now, and just at the right time. Seeing, as you said, ACC is about to kick off. Notre Dame visits this weekend. They're 10-4 overall. They've already played 3 ACC games. They went 0-3. They have not played a true road game yet. They hosted Wake Forest. Wait a minute, that's not right because they played at Wake Forest.
I thought they hadn't hosted
I'm reading that backwards. They have not
Yeah,
played a home game yet. They're 8-4
what
on
it
the
is.
road. Yeah, I'm reading that backwards. They've not played a home game yet. Did go to Winston-Salem and got swept, but this is another team that Clemson should win the series. And if they play to their capability, they should sweep. And a lot of that might depend on the LeGuernick we see Sunday. But I'm with this guy here, man. I'm still expecting that breakout game. I was kind of anticipating it this past Friday. I think we're going to get it this Friday now.
I think so too. And, with guys that are that talented, you're not going to stay down for long. That's what I've been thinking about. It's coming. I think a Cam breakout game, and he kind of had one the other day, but something similar. Like they're just too good to not break out at some point soon. And I think they've both traditionally been people that thrive under really intense competition in conference play. So I feel very confident this could be the breakout game for an Aiden Canuck, Cam Cannarella, a bunch of other guys. So I'm going with you. I'm saying this should be a sweep, and pitching is going to be the question. And I'm really interested to see if they go with the Jack Crichton, Tristan Bissetta, Colin Priest, who gets those looks after the past week. That's going to be what I'm looking for.
You got to find some way to get Crichton on the field right now. You need to get the other two out there too, particularly Priest. You need to let him hit his way out of it, but you got to find some way to get Crichton in that order. But going back to those two guys, Canuck and Cannarella, if there's two guys on that team that I wouldn't worry very much about, it's those two guys. Again, Cannarella didn't have much of a preseason, had no fall. So he's taking a little bit longer to get in the swing of things, kind of understandable, but I feel pretty confident those guys are going to get it going. They've just been so good. Cam for the past 2 years, Aiden all of last year, never really hit a bad spot. I know he missed a little teeny stretch there with an injury, but he's seen it, he's done it, he knows what it looks like, and I don't worry about that guy one bit. Because even when good Lord, even when he's not at his best and he's just average, he's still, striking out 8 guys in 5 innings. I mean, it's that's how nasty his stuff is. He struck out 9 in 4 2/3 against South Carolina. He struck out 8 in 5 innings against VCU. Struck out 7 in 4 innings, against Oklahoma State, and 6 in a row to start the game. I mean, he'll get there. I do wonder if if he's those new pitches he's added, maybe that's factoring in somehow, but that changeup is still as nasty. And when he's locating that fastball, to me, that's kind of been the issue so far. Is just the locations, the command's not been exactly what it was last year. And last Friday, Coach Backett was talking about how, I don't know, it made it sound like sometimes he might be trying to throw the perfect pitch. But when you got stuff as nasty as his, you don't have to throw the perfect pitch. He'll get there, and so will Cam. And it's you can't really overstate how impressive it is that these guys are 17-1 and Counterella's hitting 280 or whatever it is, and Canucks not pitched out of the fifth inning yet. Hadn't gone deeper than 5 innings yet. I mean, that's overly impressive.
Yeah, these are good problems to be talking about, to be honest with you, because you know they're going to get going. They've showed that in the past, and so many other guys have been on fire to the point where if you're sitting and talking about what could be better with 17 wins and 1 loss, then I think we're in pretty good shape.
I 100% agree, and I'm going with the sweep this weekend. I think they're gonna be 20-1 coming out of the weekend. So I don't think there's a midweek game next week because of spring break, but 20-1 coming out the weekend. We get a better performance from LeGuarnet. We get Canucks breakout performance, and they go into spring break having won 20 out of 21 to start the season.
As I say about once a week, you heard it here first, JP's prediction. So all credit to JP when Aiden Canuck has this huge breakout game because of you.
If you say it enough times, it's going to eventually be right.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I'm going with you. I'm going with the sweep, and we'll be back next week to hopefully add on 3 more wins to this year or this record. But yeah, I want to thank our sponsor, Mission Roofing, for supporting us tonight. Want to thank everybody that tuned in on different night on Wednesday and later time. And make sure to follow us on the Clemson Insider for all things Clemson Notre Dame, all things Clemson basketball. JP specifically will have you covered tomorrow with no first round exit. I'm hoping. I feel good about it.
Fingers crossed.
There's no way.
And hit that like button and that subscribe button. I always forget
Yes,
to
do
say
that too. I do too. But that's okay. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you next week.